You're watching the DSP Leaders Summit on Edgeonomics, which looks at the operator economics that support the distributed telco cloud or telco edge. I'm Guy Daniels, Director of Content at TelecomTV, and today's panel discussion is on edge opportunities at customer premises. Now, local compute and storage is critical to the automated connected operations that many enterprises are planning and implementing. But what role can edge technology developers and CSPs play in such digital transformation strategies? Well, let's first of all introduce our panelists for today. And joining us from China is Lingli Deng, Technical Manager with China Mobile. From the US, we welcome back Beth Cohen, SDN Product Strategies at Verizon. From Switzerland is Rolf Eberhardt, Head of Orchestration, Communications and Media Solutions with HPE. And joining from the UK is Nigel Stephenson, Director Market Development EMEA, Telco and Edge Cloud at VMware. Hello everybody and good to see you all again. An opening question for all of you. Telcos want to support enterprise customers. They want to extend and strengthen their existing relationships as well as obviously attract new customers. So, how exactly can telcos extend their distributed cloud infrastructure to meet the needs of enterprise users? Rolf, could I ask you first?
The telcos have a unique benefit towards anybody else in this market. They provide an incredible level of trust to enterprises. In particular, if you go into national enterprises, multinationals, they have a high complexity of multinational distributed edges, but in particular within a country, there you have a unique position. And this trust is combined with the ability to provide highly reliable infrastructure. And I guess this is really the benefit that telco can bring in, managing the infrastructure and everything related to an edge cloud system.
Thanks, Rolf. Beth, what are your thoughts here about how telcos can extend their edge to meet the needs of enterprise users?
Well, I'll build on what Rolf said. We are in a very unique position with the enterprise because we already have the equipment at the enterprise, obviously, to support the network. And we also have the, as we're increasingly moving toward software-defined networking, we are we have universal CPs, which, hey, at the end of the day, they're mini clouds. So we are in a great position to put applications at the edge on that equipment. And, that's something our customers have been asking for several years from us, literally since we initially launched our virtual network services product. That was pretty much the first request for additional features. So that's, yes, absolutely. We are very much in alignment. And I'll build on what Rolf said. We are in a very unique position with the enterprise because we already have the equipment at the enterprise, obviously, to support the network. And we also have the, as we're increasingly moving toward software-defined networking, we are we have universal CPs, which, hey, at the end of the day, they're mini clouds. So we are in a great position to put applications at the edge on that equipment. And, that's something our customers have been asking for several years from us, literally since we initially launched our virtual network services product. That was pretty much the first request for additional features. So that's, yes, absolutely. We are very much in alignment, and it's something that the hyperscalers really can't touch.
Well, hopefully we'll come back and talk a little bit more about that. Nigel, for now, how do you see the role of telcos and how they can extend their distributed cloud infrastructure to meet the enterprise user needs?
Yeah, well, building on what's just been said, I mean, there is a huge opportunity here, but it's not without its challenges. So if I spin it around and say, where are we focusing? What are we trying to solve? I think we're still seeing too many silos within the infrastructure generally. So we're still working towards that level of consistency that spans the network. And what this basically means, what we're talking about today, is we've done a lot in the core, we've moved it to the edge, and that needs to move all the way out to the customer prem. So I think getting that consistency is a key aspect. The other thing that we're looking at is if you look, most operators are brownfield sites, so there's a lot of legacy there. In some respects, some of what we've been doing with NFV, although it's scary to say, that is almost looking a bit like legacy. But the point is, we've got to evolve. So we've got to evolve the infrastructure, and that by necessity is taking us towards cloud native. So we've got to expand this platform, if you like, but we've got to move from virtualized to cloud native as we do it. And that will bring in much more capability towards the edge of the network, especially. A third area is actually around telemetry. So we're doing a lot more now with things like real-time monitoring and AI and ML. And the reason for that is actually twofold. One is to develop a much more optimized way of running the network. So if you like, that's a cost thing. But it's equally, and perhaps more importantly, a customer experience thing. So there's a lot of focus around telemetry and real-time analysis of that, or near real-time, so that we can improve customer satisfaction as well as optimize the network. And then a fourth thing that I will throw in, if I may, which is not necessarily pure technology, but I think it's really key, is that we're moving to even more so towards an ecosystem. We've started bringing edge, and we may get onto this later. We're looking at deploying a platform. I think that's what the operator opportunity is to create a platform. And that platform has to support a diverse ecosystem of developers, application providers, consumers, enterprise consumers, and so on. So in order to do that, we need to create a system where these developers and these applications can be onboarded rapidly and reliably, and with suitable levels of performance. So there's a piece of work around this to bring communities together and make sure we have, if you like, a sort of CI/CD flow, a pipeline that allows operators and ultimately customers to put things on this edge environment and do so reliably and with confidence.
Okay, thanks, Nigel. And indeed, we'll come back to some of those points you made very soon. Lingli, what about you? How do you see the role of telcos extending their edge infrastructure to meet the needs of enterprise users?
So from our perspective, there has been discussions about, edge computing and how we could provide the services and play a role in servicing our enterprise customers. So in summary, we see that there might be three modes. Though the first one is actually very simple. So we go with as a simple pipe, which we call a pipe mode. So for Chinese operator, the use of traditional pipe modes to provide connection only edge computing scenario would be the easiest way for us to kick in to the play. Although the existing technology and operational expertise could be, sufficient enough for us to do this type of service, but it is, it would quickly bring us into the game. So this is one option on the table. And the second option and third option is IDC mode and also the platform mode that has already been mentioned, I think, by Rolf and Beth. So in the IDC mode, operators are responsible for deploying and managing the edge infrastructure, which is required for solutions. And also, the operator would be responsible for providing the appropriate network connectivity, equipment, and IT services. With that, it actually requires, more expertise for us as, traditional pipe operators. But it will open the door for us for increased traffic service and revenue in addition to the traditional service mode. And the third mode, which is quite challenging for us, but would be, I think, the bring us the highest value is the platform mode, which means that operators can choose and provide the full stack connectivity, equipment, IT services, and even the edge platform, and even the intelligent analysis or other value-added services. And which could be making a difference is that we could combine with our networking analysis. So especially when the enterprise customers are actually developing applications with mobile access scenarios. So this would enable us to take a leading role in enabling such business scenarios. But it is the most challenging one, as I mentioned, because for Chinese operators, we are newcomers for public cloud service provide game. And now we're trying to, to bring edge together with the incoming 5G scale deployment. So there is still a lot to learn from us, especially for the distributed cloud infrastructure management, and also providing a uniformed platform to all the enterprise customers, and opening up network and also value-added application capabilities to be provided and integrated with all those vertical enterprise customers when they are developing their applications.
Thank you, Lingli. Thanks for going through those three different approaches. And we are certainly hearing a lot about platforms at the moment in this scenario. Something you did mention about the management aspects. I want to pick up on that one. Beth, we know that enterprises have their own favored IT partners and relationships that often go back many, many years. So do telcos have a role to play in enterprise private network infrastructure management?
Absolutely, we do. So we are in frequently trusted partners with our customers. We are, frequent, particularly at the enterprise level. Many enterprises have outsourced the management of their network. That's not their core expertise or even their core business goals. It's just a means to their business goals. So it makes sense for them to outsource that. And even though they may or may not be outsourcing directly to the telco itself, the telco still is there. Even the SIs, the large integrators and the large outsourcing companies don't own the networks. Those really do belong to the telcos. But we increasingly see, I know Lingli mentioned the platform. Customers tell us all the time they don't have anything to do with managing the hardware at the edge. They want us to do it because it makes more sense for us to do it. We have the expertise. We've been doing that type of management for many years. So they're completely comfortable with us owning the management of the hardware itself, whether it be a universal CP or whether it be a purpose-built, doesn't matter. It certainly doesn't matter to us in terms of how we manage it. So they are very willing to have us manage the platform and us manage the network. And so it's only a small step for our customers to want us to manage the supporting infrastructure for those edge applications. Obviously, they want to manage their own applications. They don't want us to touch them at all. Now, Verizon has already developed a model that we call monitor only, where we stand up network services, VNFs, for our customers that we then turn over to the customer to manage the application itself. That's a particularly popular option for firewalls, since frequently customers want to do the management of their own firewalls. So we are extending that model to support the customer's applications as well.
Great. Well, thanks for going through what Verizon is doing there. That's really interesting. Rolf, do you see the same thing here? Do telcos have a key role to play in managing private network infrastructure?
Yeah, no, I absolutely. What Beth is saying is perfectly right. I believe the key challenge which we'll be having in this market is to provide the agility towards these solutions and the ability to do rapid lifecycle management on the environment. If we don't have the ability to be fast and to be efficient, then we run risk of having enterprises moving to a system integrator who would then be providing proprietary environments around it. So we, in addition to such a service as Beth was mentioning, we need to give them the sedgeway so that they can attach efficient lifecycle management of their application environment, and even to the point of having self-service connectivity capabilities, service stitching capabilities. And if you do that, then I really believe we do have an excellent counterpoint to the classic monolithic hyperscaler approach, which would be probably one of the competitors in this market.
Thanks. And Beth, please.
Yeah. So I just want to add on to that. So the hyperscalers, have started reaching out to the edge. I would say they've been more successful. Well, I should take that back. They're really just starting. So Outpost has been out for a while. As you know, Outpost is a pretty large deployment. As a telco, we tend to do both. We have deployments that are, I call near edge or regional edge. That's what we put into our COs and our POPs. But we also have the far edge, right, which has traditionally been routers, but now it's the universal CP. The hyperscalers, are moving into the near edge and the POPs with Wavelength, Amazon's Wavelength, and Microsoft has something as well. I think that they have struggled to get to the far edge into that universal CP because they don't own that box. Wavelength they don't own that edge box, and that's something that the hyperscalers have. It's a new way of thinking for them. The telcos are used to that sort of hybrid responsibility model and understanding that some components belong to the customer and some components belong to the telco.
Thanks, Beth. So Nigel, faced with the threat from the hyperscalers, they're threatening so many aspects of the business. Do telcos have a good story to tell here in terms of being able to manage private network infrastructure?
Yeah, and I just want to build on what Beth was saying actually, because I think we need to look at it from the customer perspective, and I think a lot of what we've just talked about, and I don't want to pigeonhole things, but I think the context for me, I was thinking network services. But the opportunity here is beyond that. It's into the applications, because these applications are going to drive the opportunities, yeah? And that's what I was saying earlier about the platform. So I think one of the opportunities and the places to explore here for the operators would be, how do you build an environment that allows the customers to do what they need to do? And again, I think as Beth had mentioned, running infrastructures is not their primary purpose. They need those to do whatever their business demands. But if you look at the customers within the enterprise, and I think that's where the main opportunity is we're talking about, you've got operations teams, right? Who are the IT organization, they're running the environment, they're providing services that are production services. There are also the development community who are developing those services, and then we've got the sort of the agile processes that are surrounding that to move from development into production. So in order to do that, the enterprise customer is looking for lots of different ways of building their services and managing their services. So some of this is at the network level, absolutely. And that trust that was mentioned right up at the beginning of the session, that's really key. So providing that core trusted connectivity is a vital part. But the opportunity then moves further up the value chain, I think, in being able to provide this application platform where customers and vendors can develop and then deploy applications across the infrastructure in a managed environment, but where that's offered up, whether that be an IaaS type service or a container as a service type environment. So yes, I think I would kind of split it in terms of, yes, the customers, the enterprises are not looking to manage pieces of the infrastructure that they don't need to, but they do need some degree of management access in order to develop and deploy and to run the applications that they care about. And they might be looking to do that on an Amazon, you know, they might be looking at a Google service, they might be looking at a sort of hybrid service with their service provider. The value, I think, is being able to pull all of that together and deliver it in an effective, efficient and timely manner. And that then brings you back down into the platform in terms of how do you build that environment to offer it up to the enterprise customer so that they can run their business on it and develop their business on it. And I think that's taking it to a level that we haven't seen before that the operators can engage in.
Thank you, Nigel. And Lingli, do we have a similar situation in China? You know, do telcos still have a role to play in enterprise private network infrastructure management?
Oh yeah, it's just getting started, and I think the exact business model are yet to be established. During our early explorations, we singling out like top 100 enterprise customers, and we are building a proof of concepts with them. But with working with them, I think what I need to add is that I 100% agree with Beth. The Telco has a special role to play because we own all the edges and we own all the accesses, especially when the enterprise customers need to consider mobile access and also connecting from like a variety of different locations. And the Telco operator certainly has the benefit on the access, on the bandwidth, and on the distributed infrastructure. We have the leading advantage over those hyperscalers. But in the same time, I think what Rolf has just mentioned is also very important, is about the service agility, because that's something very key to the enterprise customers, because what they're worried about is not only infrastructure management, but also service agility. So a little bit add to that is that from our understanding from those customers from verticals, they can be divided into two groups. One is those very traditional, like enterprise customers, not even going into public cloud or yet. So with them, they have been managing their infrastructure. They have been, developing their own applications in a very closed environment. And the second group of customers that they have been migrated and get used to public cloud service providers, so or what we would call hyperscalers. So for those different groups of customers, actually there is a key, I think, common character or common requirement is that they are actually application oriented. So it would be very important if our telco operators want to play a role in this game, is that we need to provide with them a uniformed cloud native application development and operation kind of like user experience. What I mean is that, so for now, for those all hyperscalers, there are silos when they're providing public cloud service. And if we would like to join the game, there has been very close discussions with all the Chinese operators and some of the key vendors or equipment developers, is that if or not we could unite together and provide a transferable way of experience in providing the edge platform, or at least unify the interfaces of all the mobile edge application program interfaces, so that it will make it easier for those customers when they're developing or migrating their applications to a telco cloud, a telco edge cloud, and don't need to worry about all these barriers between different telco operators, and that would help us actually build up the market and enter the game.
Thank you, Lingli. And it's interesting to see how we're already seeing this split between the customer base there and this segmentation. Beth, you'd like to add some points?
Yes. I want to build on what Lingli said. That's Lingli's. It's super important that the telcos create an ecosystem and build tools that the developer community can in fact consume. It's not something that we traditionally do. We're used to delivering black box type applications. And I think it's super important for us to build that ecosystem and working with the hyperscalers to provide a development platform that not only addresses the developers' needs for tools at the edge, but more importantly, allow the developers to consume the network and optimize their applications to fit the network parameters. And that's something that the developers are not used to, and the telcos are not used to. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to develop those types of APIs, data lakes, consumable types of platforms, test beds where the developers can test the applications. And these are the tools that we really need to provide to the developers. And again, it's something that the telcos have to do, because we own those networks, we know how they perform, and we need to expose that in some safe way to the developer community.
Thank you, Beth. I'm going straight back to Lingli.
Oh yes, just while Beth is talking, I realized that there has been some practice actually in China. We're building open source communities, and collaborate with networking at the edge, of course, and trying to build a telecom mobile edge oriented developer community. So major Chinese operators are part of that community, and we are building an end-to-end mobile edge application, like development like environment, and providing all the toolings. I think that is actually something very special, because all those like vertical application developers, the challenge for them is that they don't know what type of capabilities or APIs that actually could be provided by network operators. So it is really important for us to build an open community and educate them with some of the proof concept, and also trying to enlarge the influence within that community to let them know how we can build it, and how we can get support, and how I can get my application even iteratively improving with the network abilities that operators actually can provide. And that would be a key differentiator for us from those hyperscalers.
Thank you. I want to move things along. We've been discussing the opportunities. We're very clear there's a tremendously large opportunity for telcos here, but we can't treat the enterprise market homogeneously. There are different enterprises, different sizes, different verticals. I'd like to ask you if there's any particular enterprise verticals that are most suited to telco edge strategies, and maybe any telcos that are perhaps a better fit than others for the edge today. Rolf, maybe I could start with you.
Yeah. We are seeing a lot from retailers, because they're now in a transformation process. So they're moving out of appliances world into virtual world, and they're transforming their operational environments into a fully digital transformation, as we in telco knew it as well. They're one. Then I'm seeing a lot in healthcare, mainly because we're also going into distributed application environments with virtualized labs, virtualized pharmaceutical productions, and that kind of stuff. And a lot in manufacturing as well. Same notion there. Process of moving from antique software onto the next generation, and now they're taking the opportunity to create hyper agile factories which are quickly redeployable and operational. Talking about Wi-Fi 6 or 5G, making this connectivity functions of use. This is the space where I'm seeing a lot of activities ongoing.
Thank you. And Nigel, are there any enterprise verticals at the moment that we see as an ideal fit for the Telco Edge?
I'd just reiterate what Rolf was saying. I think he's hit the sort of the ones we're seeing a lot of interest in. That said, I think it spans a lot of industries. The key is probably not so much is there a particular industry or a vertical, but what is it that vertical can do with the technology? And some of this also ties in very, very much with things like private LTE or private 5G. If we look at the way some of these services will be implemented, the connectivity required, if we think of 5G as the next Wi-Fi, but upper level, then we can start doing more interesting things, such as one application, for example, we're working with an organization looking at an application to help ports, shipping environment where you've got physical containers. So we're not talking Kubernetes, we're talking big boxes. Aligning containers, finding containers, using things like high definition video, but using that over a sort of an area of the size of a port. But also using the latency characteristics of 5G, using the bandwidth characteristics to get the really good high definition video that we can't necessarily do today. So functionally, a lot of that can be done today, but actually, if we can move it on a level, we'll be able to do it much better. So I think things like private LTE, private 5G, as underpinning technologies open up a lot of capability, whether it's in manufacturing, maybe part quality control, for example, that a lot of things like this need real-time, high bandwidth, sort of low latency services. So, I think Rolf hit some of the big ones there, but I guess what I would add is just to say, I don't think it's any given vertical. I don't think any given vertical is head and shoulders above any other. There are some that are more relevant perhaps today that we can see applications for. The key, I believe, is, and I think what we'll see is operators working with their largest customers to work out what they need. And I think that would be a great way of developing some of these future services. And so depending on their customer base, what we might see is certain operators developing very, very high expertise in certain verticals that reflect their current customer base as they work with their strategic customers to build out these services.
Great. Beth, can we segment enterprise verticals this way as we look to sell our telco edge-based services?
So certainly we've seen the ones that have already been mentioned, but I would add, and we've seen great interest in content delivery. So that's the media companies are very interested in using this technology. They have the CDNs, but they're really interested in taking the CDN, as content delivery is shifting away from the traditional markets, out to your TV. Cord cutting is going on at a fantastic rate, and apparently the COVID lockdown has actually accelerated it. So there's more consumption of media out at the edges, and after COVID, within stadiums and other types of much more rich types of platforms. So we're seeing great interest in that area. Also utilities, and oil and gas and the extractive areas. I see the delivery of these services they kind of bifurcate. We have the ones that are based on the wireless and 5G, obviously, public or private platforms, and also the fixed platform. So retail tends to be retail manufacturing is more on the fixed platform side of things, while logistics, telematics, and utilities tend to be more on the wireless and the 5G side of things. And content is also on the wireless side of things. But we're seeing interest, great deal of interest on both sides.
Thank you, Beth. And Lingli, we've already covered a lot of enterprise verticals in the last few minutes, but is the situation similar in China? Are you seeing any differences in which enterprises may be more suited and a better fit to the telco edge?
I would say technically, I don't see that any special barriers for telco operators and from all these applications. But I would say there has been analysis and discussions about because the hyperscalers or public cloud service providers are also approaching edge and from the public side. So we're exploring like a lot of applications like far edge, for example, smart factories, smart ports, smart parks, and those applications are actually focused on a generally relatively small geographic area. But for that applications, there are also like enterprise solution providers. They could actually build their own private LTE or private 5G network. So it's a little bit tricky, but we are also exploring that possibility, of course, because there's no technology barrier. And also we can provide with them what is the differentiator is that we could also operate and get coordinated with the mobile edge. So if your application scenario, the geographic area is actually needs to cover a wider range of applications, for example, and a larger geographic area, for example, smart cities, autonomous driving, cloud or edge gaming. And for those like type of applications, so we as telecom operators, we are operating our infrastructure at that level and could coordinate nicely within that area to provide with you continuity and ensured experience during even when you are moving or you want to expand your business. So for that type of like a mobile edge, we think that we could, based on our distributed facility deployment, could be our honey part.
Great. Lingli, thank you very much. And all of you, thank you very much. But that is all the time we have now, unfortunately. Thank you for joining us. There's a lot of comments coming out of this discussion that we will pick up on later, especially in our live Q&A program. Now, a reminder that we have many more interviews, panel discussions and analysis programs as part of the Edgenomics Summit, and they are all here to view on TelecomTV. And as I said, we have a live Q&A program which is scheduled for 4:30 p.m. UK time today. We'll be taking your questions, and hopefully some of those questions will be based on what we've just heard in the past 30 minutes or so. There's a form here on the website that you can use to submit those questions. Do get them into us because we really want to hear from you. There's also a link you can use that you can add the session to your calendar and receive a local time zone reminder. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.